I know it seems hard to believe, but way back when, before the internet even started, conspiracy nutters were still around. I cast my mind back, and the first one that springs to mind is Mr. David Icke. Now, he was a famous, originally he was a footballer, then he became a sports presenter, I think on Grandstand on BBC One. And then it kind of went a bit boobs up for him when he had an interview on the late Sir Terry Wogan's chat show in 1991, wearing a nice turquoise shell suit, and amongst other things proclaimed he was the son of God, that the royal family were shape-shifting lizards, and that Saddam Hussein was dead.
If I am given information from beings who have proved to be perfectly accurate day after day after day, and things they've told us are going to happen, and they happen.
They told you Saddam Hussein was dead, and he's
That's
not.
right. Yes, he is.
Well, I watched his birthday party on the television yesterday.
All I can say to you is all that glitters is not gold. Hang about and watch and wait. But I'll say two things to watch for, and let the alarm bells go if they happen. One is if they suddenly announce he is dead now, therefore they don't have to explain the past and what's happened over the last few weeks and the fact that he's been dead for many weeks. And secondly, if they say we've done a deal, he's gone into exile, and part of the deal is not to name the country he has gone to, therefore disappear Saddam, let the alarm bells ring.
But those two things are likely to happen, and you will be saying, oh, well, he's been dead for some time. But we saw him on the television yesterday, celebrating his birthday.
All that glitters is not gold. Just hang about and wait.
Of course, this was 1991, and Saddam Hussein, as we know, wasn't publicly executed until 2006, so got that a bit wrong, Dave. Of course, these days, with the advent of YouTube and other social media channels, people like David Icke hasn't exactly spearheaded the genre or the verve of people spouting incomprehensible garbage on the internet, but he was probably one of the first to become publicly known for being a tinfoil hat wearing Fruit Loop, for lack of a better expression. Even back then, the garbage he was spouting was enough to make front page news, because nobody had publicly said these things in public before, especially not on a primetime chat show on the BBC. But you can bet your bottom dollar that he was not alone in the way he was thinking. I mean, people like this normally get their ideas from everyone else. Look at Level Earth Observer and Eric Debay, for example. Of course, these days, with the advent of YouTube and Facebook and what have you, David very much is not alone. There are thousands, if not millions, of people who think along the same lines, and a lot of them have YouTube channels. And what you'll find with these YouTube channels is they are generally populated by like-minded Herberts in the comments section, normally accompanied by a little love heart all the way down the left-hand side of the screen. But even here, appearances can be deceiving, which I'll get into later. So for every one of these YouTubers, there's probably 50 to 100 people who will watch every single video they produce and create some kind of comment that will get a love heart and a thumbs up from the content creator. So 1 to the power of 50, and then think of how many content producers there are. There seems to be some kind of epidemic going on, because these people, let's be honest, can't be right in the head. And I think I've stumbled across the rather well documented reason why. Welcome back to another one of these videos, and I haven't done one in a while. Couple of reasons. 1, haven't had the time. 2, haven't had the space. 3, had a chronic toothache in this wisdom tooth here, which is still in progress. So I'm on painkillers at the moment, so let's see how we get on with this video. But it's okay because I've got a lucky rabbit to make me feel better. Don't care, do you? Okay. This is Beauty, by the way. Say hello, Beauty. Okay, right. Don't eat any wires. Don't stand any wires either. Don't. But anyway, so back to David. And the reason I bring David Icke up was because way back then, as I said, social media wasn't a thing, and people making public fools of themselves and it being reported in the actual physical tabloid media introduced people like him to the reality that there were people who operated on a much more fringe level of reality. Now, I've made a couple of videos like this in the past, usually on one subject and usually centered around one person. But in my adventures in the internet over the last 20 plus years or so, 14.4K modem on a Sega Dreamcast was my first adventure into the World Wide Web. If you can think in those kinds of speeds, don't eat that wire. Maybe getting the rabbit out was a bad idea. So off the top of my head, you've got CC, Level Earth Observer, Nathan Oakley, Nathan Thompson, D Marble. that weird Dave bloke, Mark Sargent, Santos Bonucci, Eric DeBay, did I say Eric DeBay? And not necessarily even the Flat Earthers, we're talking about people who also occupy other fringe aspects, like Ken Hovind, Matt Powell, who has a large inflatable banana in his back garden he likes to call Dr. Pip. You've got the guys from Living Waters, there's a name but a few, but I can name some more, but I don't really want to go down that side of it, the religious idealism, these young earth creationists, but if I find something interesting, I shall. Cool, I could really do with a whack from Ken Hovind, that'd be fun. I would just like to state for the record that I said I would like a whack from Kent Hovind, not what you were thinking. Carry on. The thing about these people is they all claim to be the guardians of the ultimate truth, that they alone have figured it out. And they present their videos in a way that would lead the viewer to believe that they invented the word condescending. And yet for every single video they create or throw together on their phone, everything they discredit, they never have anything else to back it up as an alternative. Now, I'm going to be talking about a couple of videos here which I've seen and I've already sort of clipped up. I've been working on this video for a while, so the people I'm going to talk about have created more videos since, and obviously the gold mine that is Level Earth Observer has done a few more, and they are hilarious. But I'm not going to concentrate on him, because otherwise this is just going to be a channel of me taking the piss out of him because it's so easy to do. But I'm not going to do that. I'll try to mix it up a bit. But in the grander scheme of Flat Earthers as a whole, obviously there are other content creators like Quirky Blinder and Sick and Simon and Emma Thorne, to name but a few. But if you're unfamiliar with them or unfamiliar with this concept, which is very unlikely because the internet's been around for quite some time, here's a short clip show I've put together of some of the more likely contenders for the crown.
But do you see that? That is only possible with a projection from the sky in order to form those rays that go through the clouds and down. Do you see it?
So the Earth may not be perfectly flat, but one thing that always remains so are large bodies of water at rest. The Earth is claimed to be approximately 71% covered in water, all of which is demonstrably horizontal and level.
You think this actually traveled through space? I'm gonna go with no. This looks like a poorly constructed science project done by a group of kids around the neighborhood who were on a tight budget, but had to throw something together.
I could get this small bit of paper here, circular, in my hand, and I could put that between me and the moon at such a space, a distance from my eye, where this is bigger than the moon.
Yes, sir.
And I could turn around and say to a little child, I could say, oh, you see this? This is bigger than the moon.
Anyway, it's me, Yoga Guy, weaponized version 2.3, here to bring truth to the unwashed masses, force you to put on your daily lip glasses. But you see, was I right? Nearest fucking flat, Holocaust denied. Hitler was cool and not a bad guy. Talmudic Jews, the control of your mind.
A couple of things to notice about these channels. One of the first things you'll notice over the last few years is that they're very rarely, if at all, monetized. A couple of reasons for this. Firstly, the people who pay to have their commercials shown on YouTube tend to get a bit annoyed if their commercials or their product is associated with garbage. And YouTube itself has a policy against obvious misinformation. So any channel that openly spouts unprovable, disproven rubbish will be demonetized. And this will go one of two ways. One of them will be that YouTube is part of the MSM, or the mainstream media, and that they're censoring them. They're not censored, your content is still up, you're just like making money of it. And the second way is to say you never wanted the money in the first place. And the second thing, which I'll go on about again, is the comment section below the channels. Now, I'm going to, and I just said I wouldn't, but I'm going to talk about Level Earth Observer because he is the worst one for deleting comments and blocking the user. Now, I have proven this before, and I have evidence that he will block people or delete comments that rip his arguments to shreds quite easily, and by a 5-year-old could do it. But he also blocks them on the channel, so even though you can still post, nobody can see it. Now, as you can see, I have evidence of this, and Level Earth Observer proved me wrong. It's also worthy to note that the things that these people come up with, they always claim that they should be Everyone in the world should be able to see how obvious they are and how self-evident they are. But the only people, or the only places you'll see anything like this will be on either YouTube, Facebook or personal blogs. As I've posited in some of my previous videos, these people clearly lack a certain cognitive ability where they cannot absorb contradictory information that goes against what they've seen or read or heard, and have immediately taken it as face value. Anything that goes against that initial burst of information cannot possibly be in any way true. For example, and I know I said I wouldn't, but back to Level Earth Observer. Now obviously with the advent of the Artemis mission around the moon, a lot of flat earthers and space deniers are absolutely losing their shit about the live streams that were coming from the mission as it headed to and around the moon, which from a personal point of view were absolutely amazing. Now, a couple of things I did notice during the stream, there was always this little caption that said this is a low resolution stream, because obviously these things are down to the cent or the penny. So you're not going to get a 4K stream from something that's, you know, using absolutely every resource it has down to last cent, so to speak. Now, because of the low resolution nature of the footage, a lot of people are jumping on every opportunity available to try and discredit the footage, which were obviously clearly being streamed live straight into our homes and into our computers, which, like I said, were bloody amazing. You can kind of see their desperation because the images are live, everything was in real time, and it was ripping their theories to shreds. If you've seen a couple of videos on my channel, I'm quite adept at the old Photoshop. Now, this might be taken the wrong way, because it bloody will be, because these people are idiots. What I'm going to do, the video that Level Up Observer is picking apart in this one, I'm going to replicate in Photoshop, and I'm just going to show him the blatantly obvious.
Now this is just a tiny snippet from a great video from the Founded Earth channel, which I watched earlier. Link in the description if you haven't seen that great video. But what we're about to, well, in fact I won't say. See if you can see. It should be rather obvious.
Orion looking back at Earth as it travels toward the moon. The views of our blue marble in the blackness of space now capturing the imagination of a new generation.
Yes, you do need a good imagination to believe this tosh. You also need to be naive, gullible, and more than likely needed to have banged your head several times. Because as we look at this footage, we can see the globe Earth seemingly going through the Orion spacecraft. Of course, it can't do that, so that only leaves one other alternative, and that is the fact that globe Earth has been layered in to this silly scene.
So once again, it's plainly obvious that Level Up Observer hasn't got the faintest idea of what he's looking at. So of the larger picture, he's zoomed in, so everything's losing clarity, but quite clearly the object in the foreground is out of focus because the camera has focused on the Earth beyond. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly show what Level Up Observer is looking at, because he clearly hasn't got an idea. So let's chuck a couple of layers in here. New layer, whatever, new layer. Alright, so make it nice and spacey. I shall set the background colour to black. It's a really quick way of doing this, but whatever. Right, this first layer I'm going to make the Earth, because that is in the background. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a nice blue circle to represent the Earth. That'll do. Okay, so to make it nice and equal, I'm going to get rid of half of it, because that's what we were looking at. It's probably an easy way of doing that, but I really can't be bothered. And because it is the Earth and it's quite far away, I'm going to throw a bit of a blur on there. Might put a Gaussian actually, but not that much, because that's a bit extreme. So it's slightly out of focus in its video, so that'll do for the Earth. Brilliant. Okay, so that is the Earth, and that is in the background. Let's chuck that over there. Now in the foreground we've got this massive great object, which is part of the Artemis mission. I'm just going to make a nice big box. There we go. So that is the object that's in the foreground, and now because it is out of focus, let's get that Gaussian blur back on it. But I'm going to change that slightly. So filter, blur, Gaussian, actually get it up, and I'm going to level that up just a bit, so It's out of focus. There we go. Right, so in the foreground we have the part of the ship that's slightly out of focus, and in the background we have got the Earth, basically. So let me get that a bit smaller. So let's say that's about right. Okay, so now we're going to zoom in slightly, and just to show the level observer what he was looking at, I'm just going to move the Earth in slightly. So as you can see, as they start to bisect, they're both solid objects. One's in front of the other, but one is out of focus. But if you look closely, it looks like one is going through the other. That's just basic photography. There's nothing special about it. There's no special effects in real time. It's just what we would expect to see if you understood what you were looking at. There is another clip in the same video of Leo failing to understand the concept of shadows, but I'm all photoshopped out. Setting aside the gift that keeps on giving for 5 minutes, there was a reason that people like Quirky, Sir Sick, Simon Dan, Emma Thorne, Professor Dave, Plano Walk get to make so much content on an almost daily basis, and it might not be the simple concept that these people are just idiots. Now, I'm not a fan of calling people stupid. I know Quirky does with Gay Bandon because that's his perception. That's absolutely fine. Now, I like to look at things in a different way. Now, as you know, I have 2 sons, Max and Luke. Both have ADHD, both have autism. So, like I say, I'm not a fan of calling people stupid because they just might not be. They certainly believe very stupid things, but it's the inability of them to accept correction is where my interest has piqued into looking into it a little bit deeper than just calling them morons. There is a recognised psychological affliction which is known as schizotypal personality disorder, or schizotypy. Post a link below to the Mayo Clinic's article on the disorder. But the bullet points of the article are: these problems may lead to severe anxiety, as a person with schizotypal personality disorder tends to hold peculiar beliefs. They have persistent and excessive social anxiety, incorrect interpretation of events, such as a feeling that something that is actually harmless or inoffensive has a direct personal meaning, peculiar, eccentric or unusual thinking, beliefs or mannerisms, suspicious or paranoid thoughts and constant doubts about the loyalty of others. Of course, these points are from a much larger analysis, but there are some points that I found especially interesting. Another key distinction is that people with schizotypal personality disorder usually can be made aware of the difference between their distorted ideas and reality. Those with schizophrenia generally can't be swayed away from their delusions. Being the father of 2 autistic children, it's now known that as the criteria for a diagnosis becomes more widely known, diagnosis rates increase. This is certainly true of autistic children. Recently, the numbers for successful diagnosis are skyrocketing, mainly because people now know what to look for. Myself, in my childhood, I displayed many traits that I now recognise in my children and amongst all my school friends at the time. When I went back to school in the 70s and 80s, or my primary school was 70s and 80s, and ADHD wasn't a thing. I think it didn't go back onto the medical books until about 1983, and even then it was very rare for anybody to get anything approaching a referral to get diagnosed. So am I claiming that all flat earthers are schizophrenic, or at least symptomatic of the same? No idea. I'm not a medical professional. But it has to be taken as fact as not is all well with these people. But as I looked a little closer at the disorder, in order to find out more information about the condition rather than just taking the first thing I read as gospel, I found a plethora of new information that's actually widely available, and it goes a little bit more in depth, and it might just be a little bit more complicated than them just being stupid. Again, I'm no psychologist, but I do have the cognitive capacity to absorb new information that might contradict my previously held beliefs. See my previous videos for details. This is an ability that conspiracy theorists lack at a deeply psychological level. To quote the Wikipedia page on conspiracy theories, some psychologists believe that a search for meaning is common in conspiracism. Once cognised, confirmation bias and avoidance of cognitive dissonance may reinforce a belief. In a context where a conspiracy theory has become embedded within a social group, communal reinforcement may play a part. Nathan Oakley, I'm looking at you. Inquiry into possible motives behind the acceptance of irrational conspiracy theories has linked these beliefs to distress resulting from an event that occurred, such as the events as 9/11. Additionally, research done by Manchester Metropolitan University suggests that delusional ideation is the most likely condition that would indicate an elevated belief in conspiracy theories. Studies also show that an increased attachment to these irrational beliefs leads to a decrease in desire for civic engagement. Belief in conspiracy theories is correlated with low intelligence, lower analytical thinking, anxiety disorders, paranoia, and authoritarian beliefs. Again, I'll link these articles below, but it's worth noting that Wikipedia is a bit more of a credible research tool with links to verifiable sources than Facebook and YouTube, and the personal blogs of people who claim to be scientists but couldn't get published anywhere for obvious reasons. So, while it's very easy to laugh and point at conspiracy theorists because they do and say things on an almost daily basis that defy conventional norms, but it's worth remembering there's a very good chance that despite their egotistical, narcissistic and arrogant demeanours, the fact is that deep down they might just be very, very unwell, and the sooner they get help the better.
But do you still think the royal family were shape-shifting lizards?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yes. But just let me say this.
They're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you.
Fine.
Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Yes, I haven't done one of these in a while, for obvious reasons, or the reasons I stated earlier. I know I started off as a movie channel. I will carry on doing the movie channel, but this is kind of... I like doing this kind of thing. And if I can get into a niche, or get into a groove of doing it, then I'll carry on making things like this. It won't be a general. I will do, the usual, which is find a video and pick it to pieces, because they are so easy to do, and it is easy content. It's just the editing which is the tricky part, and finding time to do it. Right, so I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want more of this content. I'm eager to do it. It's just finding the time to do it, amongst all my other commitments. Might have something coming up where myself and Max are going back up to London. I'm going to go watch the Back to the Future 3 musical again. This will be my third time. Yes, it is becoming a habit, and I really should seek help about it. But anyway, enough of that. Thanks very much for watching. I shall see you next time. I don't know when that will be, but hopefully it'll be soon. The quicker I get this rig set up, the quicker I can start filming and editing on weekends. Enough of me rambling. Thanks very much for watching. Good night.